I can't officially call the meeting to order because we don't actually have a Senate yet until you're all sworn in. So please all stand if you are a senator, not the other place. Now I want to say a couple of things real quick. So you see the word swear or affirm. Don't say both. Just say whichever one you prefer, swear or affirm. And then obviously fill in your name.
I know that.
Okay? So please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm. That I will support and defend. The Constitution of the Graduate Student Body. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I take this obligation freely. Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will faithfully discharge. My duties as senator. Under the Constitution of the Graduate Student Body. On which I am about to enter. Congratulations. All right, and with that, I will officially call this meeting to order. All right, so first order of business is to call the roll. So this will call your clickers. So please get those ready. Is everyone ready? So when you'll see a small timer start in the bottom right corner of the PowerPoint. That's when you should vote. Okay, so go ahead and send. And please vote, or please indicate your. Okay, so that's fine. So we can actually just really quickly make sure. Okay, so there are 54 of you here. Good. So we won't go through all of these, but all right. First order of business is a presentation from Kristen Walker.
Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? Good. I will say while we were standing by the food, we cannot take credit for the food. So that's all graduate student government. My name is Kristen Walker, and I serve as the Associate Director of Analytics and Initiatives at the Center for Career and Professional Development. Also with me this evening, you probably saw in the outdoor area, Kathy Horner. She's our Assistant Director of Graduate and Off-Campus Internship Programs. So we're here to kind of give a brief overview to you about the services that are available to you as a graduate student, as well as what services are available to you for the students that you may teach in some of your classes. So just some quick basics before we go into those services. In case you hear the acronym CCPD, we are not the police department, although our tech guy thinks we should have some cool police badges and run around with them. But any part of the CCPD, be it the Michelin Career Center, our UPIC, or our Cooperative Education Program, we are all located on the 3rd floor of the Hendricks Student Center. The easiest way to get up to our center is to take the elevator up to the top floor, and you will see our glass doors. So what we do and how we do it in terms of our mission, it is important for us to empower you, both our undergraduate and graduate students, as well as alumni up to 1 year out that we serve. We want to make sure basically we teach you how to fish rather than give you the fish. When you look at the research, it's estimating that we will have 10 job changes over the course of our lifetime. As graduate students, some of you may have already experienced some of those job changes. We don't want to place you in that first internship or first job. We want to make sure that you have what it takes to find each subsequent position over the course of your career. So as a graduate student, who is available to assist you? Well, we have a couple folks, Kathy and our graduate assistant, Michelle, who actually have graduate programs as part of their title. We have over 20 counselors that are part of our center. Any one of our counselors are able to visit with you about any topics, including resumes, job searches, mock interviews, any of those types of things. The way that we work is that we are generalists, so we do not actually specialize in any one industry, because if I was out presenting at a conference and you were an engineering student, then an engineering student could not be served that week that I'm out of the office. So what I like to tell you as graduate students is we do not try to pretend to be the expert in every area in which Clemson grants a degree. Otherwise, I'd be making a lot of money because I'd be that smart. So what we like to do is take what we know what employers want, coupled with what your experience is of the industry, and bring those two things together to make sure that you get to where you need to be. We think we're doing a relatively good job in it. We were recently named #1 career services in the country by the Princeton Review. Sometimes you never know what goes into those rankings, but I can tell you at the end of the presentation how many graduate students we actually interact with on an annual basis. So where are we available to help you? Like I said, the 3rd floor of the Hendricks Student Center. We've got our website, our main phone number, and our resource library phone number, which is the number you would use to actually call and make appointments, which I'll talk a little bit more about in one moment. Anything that looks like it's hyperlinked in this presentation is, and I will end up emailing it to you so that way you have access to it, as well as you can forward it to the graduate students that are either in your program, or if you're representing your graduate student organization, they can have access to it as well. This is a screen capture of the graduate student resource page that we have on our website. Our website is available to any student to use, and I would also like to encourage that if you have a significant other who is in need of some career assistance, while we can't do one-on-one career counseling with them, there is very little on our website that is password protected, so it can assist them with job searches as well. But what I also like to point out is the fact that you can use all of the student resources on our website, but the reason why we have a graduate student resource page is because some resources would not be helpful to our undergraduate students. They're specialized and tailored towards you. So I want to make sure that you're aware that you have a specialized area on our website. So when are we available to help you? In the afternoons, we are open for drop-ins from 1:30 to 4 o'clock. We just ask that you arrive by 3:45 so we can see you by 4 o'clock. That allows you to spend 10 to 15 minutes with a counselor working on any one topic. Believe it or not, we can hit through a resume critique in 10 to 15 minutes. That being said, if you need a little bit longer, we do have appointment options that are 30 and 60 minutes long. So we can talk about several topics or spend an hour focusing on a mock interview, for example. I will tell you that mock interviews are our most underutilized service that we have, and employers tell us all the times they can hear and see the difference between a Clemson student who has and has not gone through our mock interview process. So make sure that you take advantage of that because those mock interviews are tailored. You actually submit a resume when you make that appointment, and I tell graduate students, give us a position description. That way we can see the types of opportunities you're interested in. It doesn't mean that you have had to have applied for that position or it's in the right part of the country or the world, but the skills and the qualifications match up with what you're seeking. So that allows us to provide you with a customized experience without giving you a generic mock interview that we would give to an undergraduate student because that would not assist you. But you need help now. So I finished my master's and my doctoral program here at Clemson, and sometimes 2 a.m. is when you have the time to work on you instead of your research. So all the things that are in this turquoise color here are hyperlinked. So there are things that you're able to access 24/7, 365. What we do is we actually have workshops where we'll take you through a lot of the job search engines. We actually have one tomorrow afternoon from 3 to 4:30 in our center where we'll actually take you through setting up those accounts. So you do have access to that. We do have career fairs. One of the reasons why we wanted to get in front of you at your first Senate meeting is because if you are job seeking, the career fair might be something that you want to attend. I do like to point out that our construction industry fair is for anybody that is wanting to get into that industry. So if you are in finance or marketing, but that's the industry that you're interested in, you are able to attend that career fair. That information is on the back of this handout that you had with our workshop schedule. All of our career information is at the top. Now I feel like a flight attendant. All right, so let's continue on. Versatile PhD. This is a resource that you had premium access to, but right now with the change of leadership in the graduate school, we need to wait until the new dean of the graduate school arrives to help get the funding for this. That being said, you still currently have basic access to this resource. If you are looking for careers outside of the academy, so you're not necessarily looking at postdocs or faculty tenure track positions, this is an excellent resource that allows you to see what is possible for you. The analogy that they use, a little statistics related, is a lot of times we focus in on the mean. We focus in on the thing that we studied in our master's or doctoral program. This helps you to think 1 or 2 standard deviations from that. So it allows you to take your undergraduate education and see what's possible. You get to see what it takes to get into an industry as a first position out of your graduate education. and then where to go from there. It also gives you narratives, 3 to 5 page single-spaced narratives from people that have gone through a vetting process of how they got their first job outside of their graduate program. They will even show you their resume, their CV, and a copy of the position description. So a great resource if you're trying to get into, for example, government contracting. Additional resources that we'd like to point out, since we're not the only office on campus that serves graduate students, just wanted to make sure that you had those resources hyperlinked when I sent you this PowerPoint presentation. So if your graduate club or organization or academic group would like us to come and give a tailored presentation to your fellow graduate students, we do have the ability to do that. I've done them for several of the engineering programs, human factor psychology, list goes on and on. We can come to you, or we can actually host you in our boardroom classroom area, so that way your fellow students can actually see the office and where we are located. So you can fill out a quick request form and get that filled, and we can come to you and actually provide those services at a time that works for you. That could even be during the lunch hour if you typically bring your group together. So we're happy to do that for you. To give you some graduate student usage, and looking over the last several years since the recession, we can guarantee that we see over 1,200 unique graduate students. So if you know that we've got a little over 4,000 graduate students, it's not too shabby. But with that, what I like to point out is a lot of those students come back within the same year. So when we see over 3,000 total graduate student contacts a year, that means those students may have come back for a second, third, or fourth visit. So a lot of times, once we end up getting in front of the students, it ends up helping, which is why we continue to come to graduate student government every single semester. A lot of times I will hear from graduate students, I didn't know we had a career center, and I didn't know it served graduate students. So as your role as a center, what we are hoping that after today is when we send you your follow-up email tomorrow with some resources, that email actually goes out to those fellow students in your graduate program. We've been working this year through the program coordinators, through administrative coordinators, through your graduate programs, but we all know we get a ton of emails, and there's those 1 or 2 people that you actually look at the emails that they forward you, because they forward you the good stuff. So hopefully you might be that person that can forward those resources. We'll send you a copy of this and some other things as well, so that way your fellow graduate students are aware of those pieces. We also want you to be a resource. So I'm not saying you have to remember when our drop-in hours are, but the fact that we serve graduate students, if you can let the students know in your program verbally, if you hear them talking, I really wish someone could take a look at my CV. I really wish I could get some interview practice or know what search resources I have. Be a resource and let your fellow graduate students know. Also, request those workshops because that'll be an important piece as well. One thing that I'd like to point out to you, one of the flyers that we gave you is a student business card. I didn't know until about 2.5 weeks ago that Clemson University will actually print official Clemson University business cards for students, and I've been here for 5 years, so yay. So if you are going to conferences, if you're applying to those pegs and you are networking, for less than $13, you can get 100 business cards printed. You can actually pick those up at our center, so you don't even have to order them online. If you are at all interested in an entrepreneurial mindset, there are some events that are being coordinated, but I would like to draw your attention to one that's happening on Wednesday, October 21st. It's on this half-sheet handout that you had. It's the one that says the Innovator Event with President Clements. He, unless he's taken away from campus, is going to be providing an opening keynote, followed by a keynote by an upper-level GE executive, followed by networking afterwards. So if you're interested in knowing what skills employers are seeking in the future, that event's going to be held in Tillman Auditorium, and it'll be one not to miss. Any questions that you have for me before I let you get on with the rest of your Senate meeting? Hearing none, what I would like you to do is take out your smartphones and like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We've got that information right there, Clemson CCPD. We are posting job postings on Facebook and telling you where to go. We're reminding you of when our graduate workshops are. So if that comes up in your newsfeed, I'd encourage you to share that out to your fellow graduate students. Hope you have a wonderful semester in Senate. We really appreciate you all allowing us to have some time at the beginning of your meeting, and have a great semester. Take care.
All right, so now it's time for our orientation. So this is basically going to go over the procedures, the rules, parliamentary law, all of the aspects that you need to know, especially if you're a new senator, but even if you're a returning senator, okay, there's a lot that probably haven't necessarily been enforced in the past or been mentioned in the past. So please do pay attention whether you're new or returned. Okay. So in our Constitution, we have this section called the Parliamentary Authority, and it does have this statement in it which says the parliamentary authority of the Senate shall be Robert's Rules of Order newly revised. So we don't have much of a choice but to follow these rules because it's written right into our Constitution. Now,
No background music for you. Good choice.
I figured this presentation was pretty boring, so I have that. But I actually do have a copy here. This is the 11th edition. It's a very casual read. It's very good. So this is the newest one, which was published in 2011. So it's quite recent, actually. And there are not a lot of substantive changes from the new version, but I will mention a couple of that. So, especially if you're new, you might be wondering, okay, why follow parliamentary law? What's the point of this? Is all this formality necessary? Doesn't it slow down our meetings? Aren't we just taking ourselves all too seriously? I mean, come on, we're not that important. But actually, that's kind of missing the point. Because the formality helps us accomplish our business in a way that's orderly and fair. So we're a huge group of people, and we're trying to make decisions as a group, and that's a really complicated process. It might seem like we can just let the rules fly, but if we want to ensure that everyone's voice is heard, everyone's vote is counted, and that everything is done in an orderly and fair way, parliamentary law is basically hundreds of years of collective experience of how to do that. So we follow those rules. And no, it actually speeds our meeting up by keeping us on task. So a lot of the rules in parliamentary law are focused around the idea of keeping the group focused on the business at hand and not allowing the group to deviate to rabbit holes. So on the point about taking ourselves too seriously, no, the point of following parliamentary law is not to make us feel more important, to make us feel official. It's actually just to simplify the process of making group decisions. And while it might not seem simple at first, actually, again, the collective wisdom of the years has determined that this is actually a very efficient way of doing business. So the key idea in parliamentary law is the idea of the deliberative assembly. It's the foundation that creates parliamentary law. And Robert's Rules defines it as this. A group of people having or assuming freedom to act in concert, meeting to determine in full and free discussion courses of action to be taken in the name of the entire group. Okay, so it really is group decision making. Apologize for having technical difficulties. Intermittent. We'll probably continue to. Now, what's really also interesting to notice here is that as a second definition, Robert's Rule states that the group meets in a single room or area under equivalent conditions of opportunity for simultaneous oral communication among all participants. And this is partly why it's been a big struggle getting the GSU Greenville branch up to speed, because we're not in a single room if we're in two different places, right? So that's something we're going to have to iron out, but I just wanted to mention it here while we're going over the rules. And then there are kind of some basic principles of parliamentary law, things that aren't the rules themselves, but that are principles that go into the rules, so it helps you understand why the rules are the way they are. The first of these is orderliness. Rules of order kind of implies that. And this is the idea that everyone agrees to follow prescribed rules and procedures. So it only works if everyone follows them. So we all have to agree to follow them, else they're not binding, right? Fairness, one person, one vote. Pretty simple idea. So every senator in the Senate has an equal voice. And then justice, which is the idea that there are certain rights of senators, and I'll show you these on the next slide, and those rights can't be violated under any circumstances, including under extraordinary circumstances such as suspension of rules. So what are those rights? The first one are the rights of the members. So each individual in this room it's a senator, has the right to attend meetings, to make motions, to speak and debate, and to vote. Okay? Under no circumstances will those rights be abridged. Okay? The right of the majority is to make decisions for the group on most questions. And the only reason you have to put most there is because sometimes it requires a supermajority. But minority can never make decisions for the group. It's always the right of the majority. But the minority does have rights, and the right of the minority is to be heard on all questions. So there are certain motions in Robert's Rules to cut off debate or to limit debate, and those are the motions that require a 2/3 vote because it's protecting a minority of somewhere between a third and half of the group. So there are a few formalities and customs that are involved in Robert's Rules, and these are some of the ones that haven't necessarily been observed in the past, at least not since I've been in DSG. So these are pretty important to talk about. Members should always directly address their remarks to the presiding officer. So the presiding officer is usually going to be me. I'm leading the Senate meetings. Jonathan here is our pro tem and filling in for the clerk as well today. Yes, Howard is on the order of business, but he's not here, so I'm doing both our presentations. So basically, the idea here is that when you're recognized to speak in the Senate, you only speak to me, and that's not my rule. That's Robert's Rules. You can't. Not only can you not speak to another senator, but you can't even mention another senator's name, and that might seem very limiting, but that's actually on purpose. So the idea of orderliness, fairness, and justice includes the idea of keeping us focused on the issues at hand and not on the personalities, especially on issues that are contentious. So by not even having the option to say another senator's name, it's basically forcing you to focus on issues rather than people. So address remarks to me or to Jonathan, as the case may be, the presiding officer. And then also address the presiding officer by title. And this might sound a little overly formal at first. I totally recognize that. But I think probably even by the end of this presentation, it will sound totally normal. So the Robert's Rule says the president or chief officer of an organized society who normally presides at its meetings is then addressed as Mr. President or Madam President or by whatever it may be for her. And this is actually a very useful kind of rote to go by when you want to get the presiding officer's attention, make a motion, speak in debate. Just stand up and say, Madam President, Mr. President, and that will get the presiding officer's attention. And it actually is quite a useful device. So how do we perform business under Robert's Rules? Well, all business is brought before the Assembly by use of motion. And a motion is not a complicated concept. It's basically a formal proposal by a member in a meeting that the Assembly takes certain action. That's all. It could be really anything. You can make a motion that we buy more pizza. Okay, I mean, literally it can be anything. But typically what will happen in our meetings is we'll have an order of business, and we'll follow that order of business pretty strictly. Which means that motions will be made implicitly by following the order of business. A motion made when no other business is pending is called a main motion, and there can only be one main motion at a time. And as you can probably tell, this is a very smart idea, helps keep us on track. We can't start considering a new item of business until we finish starting the previous one. Very, very smart idea to keep us on track. Only subsidiary, incidental, and privileged motions can be made while the main motion is pending. Those words probably don't mean anything to you, but basically the idea is you can't consider an entirely new item of business, but you can consider items of business which modify or in some way affect the business already at hand. So there are 6 steps of processing a motion, and these are always done every time there's a motion made. So the first step here is that a member makes the motion. Now you have to obtain the floor first, and we'll talk later on when we talk about debate, we'll talk about how you obtain the floor. But when you want to make a motion, very simply, just start with the words, I move that, and then state what you want to do, what you want the body to do. Now, main motions, as I said, can be introduced by following the order of business. So if I have, for example, a bill coming up on an order of business, I will say, the next item of business is GB 272. The question is the adoption of GB 272. That is an implicit motion that I'm making, not really making, but it's already been made by the order of business that we agreed to when we convened this meeting. The next thing is the motion must be seconded. Not all motions need to be seconded. There's actually a very explicit list in the Robert's rules about which ones do and don't, but it doesn't hurt to second every motion. So if you hear a motion, someone make a motion that you agree with, feel free to just yell out second as soon as they're done, and that's fine. If no one seconds it, then I'll check to see whether that particular motion needs a second, and then we'll go from there. The third step here is that the chair states the question. So this step will probably be combined with step 1 if it's following the order of business, but if a member makes a motion, I will restate the question, which will then transfer ownership from the senator who made the motion to the entire body, which then opens the floor for debate, for voting, and so forth. And this helps you guys know what we're considering at that exact moment. So there's no ambiguity about what item of business is pending. The fourth step here is the debate, which is the longest step in processing a motion. So this is where any senator can be recognized to speak for up to 5 minutes, but no more than twice, and to make any subsidiary, incidental, or privileged motion. Or both. You can actually be recognized, speak for your full 5 minutes, and at the end of your speech, make a motion. This is actually commonly done, especially if you want to make an amendment, for example. You might give a speech about why you think it should be amended, and then at the end of your speech say, therefore I move that we amend this bill. Or you could just stand up, be recognized, and immediately make a motion. It's totally up to you. There's no difference in terms of obtaining the floor. Okay. So once debate is over, then the presiding officer will put the question to a vote. And there are many ways to vote, but we typically have two ways that we will use here, maybe 3. The first, obviously, are the clickers. Okay, the way Robert's Rules calls it is electronic roll call, because it's like calling the roll, but with clickers instead of vocally, right? So that's how we will vote on legislation, okay? Because that allows us to record the individual vote of each senator. And then actually, under our new rules, if they pass, we'll publish that as an appendix to the minutes. So all the graduate students can go and see how their representative voted. On other motions that aren't as consequential as voting on bills, we will typically do a voice vote. Voice vote is the standard way of voting in Robert's Rules. But a lot of things we'll do in Senate will be done by unanimous consent. And I do want to underscore this point because a lot of things will be done by unanimous consent, and they'll be done quickly by unanimous consent, which means that if you have an objection, you really have to be on your toes and speak up quickly. So if you hear the phrase, if there's an objection, or if there's no objection, then such and such. So that's your cue, if you object, to quickly say, I object, okay? And then that will deny unanimous consent, and then I'll put it to an actual voice vote or an actual roll call vote. Okay? But most things like, for example, allowing a non-member to speak or whatever, we'll do by unanimous consent, because I don't think anyone would object to me speaking to us. At least I hope not. So yeah, unanimous consent will be used a lot. So do be aware of that. And then finally, obviously, the presiding officer announces the voting result. And motions can be made after this if there's a question as to what the result is, but that's not important right now. So rather than go over all of the possible motions of all 600 pages or however many there are, I thought I'd do something more like a top 10. So I'll talk about certain things, certain actions that you may want to take, either during a Senate meeting or before a Senate meeting, and how to do that. So first thing you probably want to know how to do is introduce an item of legislation. And this has not changed, at least as of now. So the first thing you do if you want to introduce a bill or resolution is to go to our website and download the templates. And you can go, so this is the home page right here, click on the legislative tab at the top. That'll take you to this page, which then you click on templates for bills and resolutions. You can download them, they're in Microsoft Word format. And you can get Microsoft Office for free from CCIT if you didn't know that, so you can edit them. for your personal computer. Alternatively, if you don't want to write your own bill or you're too afraid to write your own bill, that's fine. You can talk to me or you, regardless of who authored it. So in the past, we've put the author on the top of the bill. We're doing away with that. Now we just have the sponsor. So the author doesn't matter. It's whoever introduces the bill is the one that kind of owns it. And then to file an item of legislation, just email the editable file, not the PDF, but the editable version of the file to the Senate clerk. Our webmaster is working right now on a feature to allow us to submit bills on our website, which I'm really excited about, but it's not quite ready yet. So I'll keep you updated about that as developments happen. Yeah. All right, next thing, and this is about obtaining the floor. I want to debate an item of business, or included in here is I want to make a motion, a subsidiary motion. So there's a 3-step process to obtaining the floor. Okay, the first one is to either stand up or raise your hand. Standing up is the preferred way. If you don't have the ability to stand up, then you can raise your hand. If you don't have the ability to raise your hand, you can ask the person next to you. They can obtain the floor and then yield to you. Okay, so if you have any sort of circumstance that prevents you from standing up or raising your hand, that's totally fine. Next, though, is you need to get the attention of the presiding officer. And that basically is call out the officer's title. So just say, Madam President, or Mr. President. And then wait to be recognized. So you do not actually have the floor until the presiding officer recognizes you. And then you can say whatever it is you want to say. Now, as I said before, you can speak for up to 5 minutes, no more than twice. Robert's rules officially says 10 minutes, no more than twice, but under our new rules, it'll be 5 minutes. Debate must be germane to the immediately pending question. So if there's a bill on the floor and someone makes an amendment or moves an amendment, then all debate after that motion has been made must be on the amendment itself. If there's any debate that doesn't pertain to the amendment, that will be ruled out of order by me. Okay. So debate has to be germane to the exact motion that was previously made. And you must, as I said before, directly address all remarks to the presiding officer. And you have to speak clearly in favor of or in opposition to the pending motion or legislation. I'll have more to say about this in a moment. But a good way, just a good kind of, again, rhetoric advice to get yourself in the right mindset is to start by saying something like, Madam President, I rise in favor of GB 17 or whatever bill we're considering. And then finally, at the conclusion of your remarks, you'll say, therefore I urge the members to vote yes on the bill. And you can sit down or you can say I yield to yield the floor back to the presiding officer. And this will become apparent why this is so important in just a couple more slides. Third thing you might want to do in a set of meeting is change the wording of something that we're considering. So this is the motion to amend. And you can amend most anything. There are a few motions in Robert's Rules that are not amendable. But anything that has any substance to it is typically amendable. So if you want to amend a bill, for example, you can say, Madam President, I move that we amend GB 17 by striking section 2B and inserting the following in its place. And then say what you want to insert. Or you can say, if someone makes a motion to recess, you can say, Madam President, I move to amend the motion to recess by extending the time from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Yes, motion to recess is actually an amendable motion, so you can do that. Under the new rules, amendments to legislation, the new rules that we're voting on shortly, should be filed in writing. So this is a new change. It's not a requirement. So the word should there is italicized on purpose. And this is just to speed up meetings. Because a lot of times we're drafting language on the floor and it's very tedious and we don't get the language right and we can make mistakes. And it's just typically not done in legislative type of bodies anyway. So we're putting this in here just to encourage members to submit amendments prior to the meeting. And then we'll bring those up one at a time and vote on them. Debate, vote on them. the next thing you might want to do is get some more information. So if you're not certain about a bill or a course of action that the Senate is considering, you can raise a request for information. So once you obtain the floor, you can say, Madam President, I have a request for information. Now, this is one of the few changes that actually is in the 11th edition of Robert's Rules. Before, this was called a point of information. But they changed it to request for information because point of information sounds like you want to make a point when it's actually you want to receive a point, so it's now called a request. Parliamentary inquiry is a question that has specifically to do with the rules of order. So if you want to make a motion, or you want to say something, or do anything, okay, anything at all, this is completely open-ended. Or if you're just, if you're asleep during my entire presentation right now and you don't pay attention, that's okay, because you can still find out later by raising a parliamentary inquiry. That's exactly what this is for. So if you want to amend something but you don't know how, parliamentary inquiry. And the presiding officer will tell you exactly how to do that. Okay. Requests and inquiries, like all other speech, must be directed to the presiding officer. Okay, so there's no exceptions to that. Other than this one that's highlighted in purple. The presiding officer gets to decide whether to answer the question or refer it to another member. Okay. You don't get to decide that. The only exception is if a person is addressing the Senate other than presiding officer, like a guest speaker or like a cabinet member presenting a report, then you can ask the question to them. But unless there's someone else up on stage presenting, it's all directed to the presiding officer. Okay, and the fifth thing you might want to do is postpone the business. So you don't think we're ready to consider something. If you think the Senate needs more time to consider it, then you can make a motion to postpone to a certain time. Now, this in the past has been confused with the motion to lay on the table, or table as it's known in shorthand. That's actually incorrect according to Robert's Rules. The lay on the table motion is not. Yes, there's a last bullet point there. The motion to lay on the table is only for emergency situations. And the reason for that is because the business that's laid on the table never comes up again as an item of business until someone moves to take it off the table. And oftentimes, the motion to table will be improperly used as a way to actually kill legislation without actually voting on it, which is improper. So if you motion to postpone to a certain time, it's guaranteed to come up at the next Senate meeting or whenever you decide to postpone it to as an unfinished item of business. So you can just say, Madam President, I move to postpone consideration of GB 17 to the next scheduled session. That's fine. Or to three Senate meetings from now, however you want to do it. If you think an item of business is just ill-conceived, don't think it should be considered at all, you can actually move to postpone it indefinitely. And you might think, well, what's the difference between postponing indefinitely and just voting it down? Well, there's actually a slight difference, because if you postpone it indefinitely, you're not actually saying anything about the item of business that was to be considered, right? Whereas if you vote it down, it's a clear statement that the Senate is opposed to that course of action. Whereas if you postpone it, it says, we just didn't consider it at all. So avoid saying whether the Senate agrees or disagrees with the substance of the item. It effectively kills the motion of the So to kind of pause here, halfway through these top 10. So these are the ways that you can consider an item of business that is presented to you in the Senate. Okay. This is an exhaustive list, at least in these terms, right? So the first thing, obviously, if you're in favor of the bill, that's simple. Vote. You can stand up and debate, argue in favor of it, and then vote yes when it comes up for a vote. If you're opposed to the bill, you can argue in opposition to it, and then vote no when it comes up. Okay, that's the easy thing. Very often, well, not very often, but sometimes that won't be the case. You won't know one way or the other whether you're clearly in favor or clearly opposed, so you can do one of these other options. So if you would be in favor of the bill if it were altered slightly, then you can move to amend. If you need more information to make up your mind, you can request for information. If you still can't make up your mind after all of that, you can motion to postpone. If you have another idea entirely, like let's just get rid of this bill and try something entirely different, you can move to postpone indefinitely. Those are your only options. So this is a little bit for people who are starting out with Robert's rules for the first time. This can be a little bit hard to get your head around right away. There's no provision for expressing uncertainty or just giving words. The meeting is adjourned, okay? Because this motion, which is frequently misunderstood, but this motion does actually require a vote, okay? So you're captive until a majority of us decide that you can leave, okay? So no one can leave until there's a vote, and most often we'll do this by unanimous consent. So that by the time someone makes a motion to adjourn, we'll probably all have agreed that yeah, it's about time for that, right? So we go by unanimous consent, and I'll just say if there's no objection, the meeting will be adjourned. Okay, will be is still future tense, so please don't pack up and leave. And then once I wait and I say okay, there's no objection, the meeting is adjourned. And that's it. So I covered a lot of material in a very short amount of time. I will send out the slides with the minutes so you can review it. I'll try and post like some notes as well on the website so we can have it for posterity. And as I said, I will try and kind of guide you through these things throughout our meetings so you don't have to memorize all of these steps, but do be familiar with the important ones. Are there any questions? Questions about Robert's rules? You guys got it. All right. Cool. Well, thank you for humoring me through that, and hopefully it was helpful. So the next item of business is reports. So we will start with the report from the president of the graduate student body, Vinny Petty.
Thank you. So as you all know, my name is Vinny Bailey and I'm the president of the graduate student body. I'm a fourth-year PhD student in the Department of Electrical Engineering. And I've been a part of GSG for the past 3 years, and this is my 4th year serving on GSG. I'd just like to take this opportunity to welcome you all to the Senate. And I thank you all for volunteering to be senators. You all are basically the emissaries of GSG in your departments. My message to you all today is to promote yourselves, make yourself visible. Your department constituents should know who you are, because you are their representatives. Now, we really welcome the student concerns or opinions, so make sure you bring those, whatever you're hearing around the department from your constituents, to us. If a student comes to you with a concern that you're not sure how you're going to solve it or you don't know the answer to it, I would recommend not just to say anything to them. Just direct them to the executive body of GSG and we'll take care of it. And that goes for the rumors as well, because you will find a lot of rumors floating around our university pertaining to graduate students. So if you want any clarification on that, please contact us before you say anything to your constituents. So that way we can have the correct information going to and fro from the GSG, the administration, and the graduate student body. With that being said, I have a few updates from my side. This year we negotiated a $30,000 award from the Vending Funds Committee. Now this award is the maximum money that we've received ever. And this money goes towards the PEGAS program. So this year we have more money to support travel grants for graduate students. Another exciting announcement for now is that for the very first time, GSG has acquired a tailgating spot in front of Pike. It's right in front of Pike. We have a tailgating spot for GSG Greenville. We have a tailgating spot for GSG Clemson. But we're going to combine the two spots and it will be a GSG big spot. So you're all welcome to attend the tailgates. It's open to all graduate students. The next point is that we are in talks with the Parking and Transportation Service about increasing or making available the CAT bus during holidays. For now, we have CAT bus running during the holidays when new starts and there's no service on the weekends. But we're very confident that we will resolve this issue and we'll have service for everyone during the weekends. The next point is particularly important for graduate student organizations. And this is that regarding the usage of Tillman Hall. So organizations planning to use the Tillman Hall can do it for free. But they have to go through GSG. So they have to contact us, give us prior notice so that we can make arrangements so that you all can use Tillman Hall for free. Because in the past, we've had some organizations that host big events and Hendrix is not conducive to them because they need the stage, they need the auditorium setting. And they're not able to use Tillman because it's very expensive. But we're talking to Student Affairs and they've agreed to cap the costs for the graduate student organizations. Only the recognized organizations, recognized by the GSG, to use the facility for free. This year we revamped the graduate student orientation and made it way more fun for the new graduate students. And to talk more about that, we have our Secretary of Graduate Student Orientation, Gabriel Paul. A delegation of the top Student Affairs Administration, including the Vice President of Student Affairs, the Senior Associate Vice President, and all the other top administrators, will be visiting the Greenville, GSG Greenville, and will be interacting with the leaders of GSG Greenville next week. So I think this is a very positive step that we are seeing that drives the momentum towards GSG Greenville. And we're very excited about that. And one final update, the final update for today would be something that we've been working on for as long as I've been here. Because before I was the president, I was the Secretary of International Student Affairs. And we've been pushing this for a while now to have a position in student affairs that can be a one-stop shop for international students. An international student can go, approach, and talk about anything if he doesn't know where to go. And that person can direct them to the right people. And I'm very happy to announce that that role will be taken on by our GSG advisor, Bernardo Darwin. So he will be the liaison between the international students and everyone on campus. So make sure you spread this information to your constituents that national students have a point of contact that they can go with problems. Of course, GSG is there, but if they're more comfortable speaking with university administrator, then Bernardo will be the one. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much.
Next, we will hear a report from the Vice President of Greenville Council, Chancellor Cook.
Hey guys, I'm Chandler Cook. I'm a second-year master's student at CUI CAR up in Greenville, and I was a senator last year in GSG, and I'm the new vice president of GSG Greenville. So I'm not going to take up too much of your time, just going to give you an overview. For those of you who aren't familiar with GSG Greenville, it's brand new. This is the first semester we've ever had it. It basically gives the graduate programs, the Clemson graduate programs that are located in Greenville, representation in GSG. By having a Greenville Council out in Greenville. So I'll be holding meetings there this semester so that all the programs there can have two representatives, basically like senators like you guys have. And, because in the past we've had very little representation, very little people are willing to drive, the hour from Greenville to here for all the meetings and stuff. So last night we had our first meeting. We decided we're going to have all our GSG Greenville Senate meetings, or council meetings, the day before these meetings. So every Wednesday before this Thursday meeting, we'll have our meeting. So I'll have that information to share with you all. So last night we swore in our new senators. I gave an overview of what GSG is, what GSG Greenville is and hopes to be. And I talked about some of the, talk about some of the government documents that govern everything that we do. So we also established our committees and representatives. So we're going to have an activities committee, philanthropy committee, finance representative, organizations representative, and health services representative. And all those committees and positions will interact with the Clemson GSG positions here. And so we're currently planning out a lot of the events and kind of still developing a little bit of the structure of GSG Greenville. There's a few kinks we still got to work out, but we're getting there, pretty quickly. So yeah, that's about all I wanted to say. So thanks, guys.
Yes. So, question? Yes, go ahead.
For me?
Yes.
If a program is in Greenville or spans both Greenville and campus, it wasn't clear to me if we're supposed to have 2 senators, one at each, or 2 senators here, and also different representations. The Greenville Council, how exactly does that work?
If we're going to split between Clemson and Greenville, well, there's got to be one location it's housed out of, right?
Yes, so that hasn't been determined. So we actually have a resolution that we're considering today, which will kind of hash out to create a committee to hash out those issues.
Okay.
We'll have more of those things come up. As it's kind of a tricky, it's been a lot of development. Because that's a great question. A lot of those have come up in our development. So we're going to work to try to.
So Ryan Heil, our athletic secretary and president emeritus of GSG, has a answer.
Right. So I think, like Blair said, there's a couple details, especially considering Robert's rules, to be determined. But one of the things that we had discussed last year in creating this, and obviously I think up for discussion, with this new committee, would be there are a lot of programs that are split. We found out 30% online, 30% in Greenville, and 30% here. But they're housed at a particular location. So a lot of the programs may be housed here, but primarily taken in Greenville and online. And so we really, when we decided to do it, we said, wherever it's housed is where we consider it. Obviously, we did that just for the simplicity of getting it started. And like Claire said, I think probably up best to be kind of reconsidered if it doesn't make sense or if it does make sense.
Any other questions? Hearing none. And next we will hear reports from the cabinet, President's cabinet. And I believe we will just go in order from front to back. You can stand up or come to the front, whatever you want.
Well, my name is Ashley Huff. I am the secretary for graduate student orientation. So we had graduate student orientation 3 weeks ago tomorrow, and we worked through a lot of changes with graduate student orientation from last year to this year, working in collaboration with the graduate school. So we saw a lot of improvements, especially in creating an orientation for the Greenville campus. So we ran programs at the same time here at Clemson's campus as well as at Greenville campus, using a lot of live streaming to make sure we are providing a solid orientation experience for all of our graduate students, no matter where their location is. GSG's role of that is Meet and I sort of worked with the graduate school to make sure we were advocating for our students, but GSG also purchased t-shirts for all of the new graduate students and provided them free as well as a free lunch. So that was some of our big initiatives with it, as well as sort of like telling our new graduate students what orientation was about. So I'll be working this semester to help plan for next January orientation as well as next fall, and working through some ways we can continue to improve that process to provide a great introduction to Clemson for all of our new grad students.
Hi everyone, my name is Sean Knight. I'm the Secretary of Social Media, and I'm also speaking tonight on behalf of Abby Lawson, who's the Secretary of Communications. We work closely to bring you all the newsletter, the Twitter, Facebook, all of that stuff. And so a couple of things just to note. We are going to be having a committee, so there will be signups for some senators to join us and kind of provide some feedback and things like that and assist us in our communication efforts. If any of you or the people that you represent are looking to publish something through the graduate student newsletter. You'll notice that in the newsletter at the bottom there's a link for a form where you can submit that. That's both if you would like something on social media and in the newsletter. Obviously, we have a lot more flexibility with social media to publish events as far as like using Twitter and Facebook and things like that. So please feel free to submit that. We want to make sure we're advertising what you and your membership and your programs are doing. Also, please feel free to, if you're not already, follow us on Twitter at Clemson GSG and like us on Facebook. Hopefully you already are doing that, but some of you may not be if you're new senators, so please do that. We'd like to be able to kind of retweet you and share the information that you are doing, and feel free to direct folks that you know that have questions to ask them through that. I'm pretty diligent in getting back to everyone and making sure that if they ask questions or have any concerns, they can express those via social media. Sometimes interacting with you all or getting them to this meeting can be a little bit more difficult, so we want to make sure we have all those avenues available. And if you have any questions about communications or social media, feel free to come find us. Thanks.
My name is Mike Carlo. I'm the Chief of Staff, and I don't have a report or too many details to give, but there's only one thing I wanted to say. One aspect of my job as Chief of Staff is to work very closely with Gunit in things that we do in the Clemson community, on committees, collaboratives, task forces, to make sure that we communicate the vision, goals of GSG, and the best way to do that effectively is to not only communicate with the cabinet, but also with all of you. So I just want to say that I welcome emails, in-person visits, anything from all of you at any point. I want you to feel free to come to me with anything. So, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Shruti. I'm the registrar for GST, and I don't have a report as such to give now, but I'll have one from next time once we approve the budget.
Hello everyone, I'm Dhaval Parmar. I'm the webmaster for GSG, and we're working on lots of new features and improvements to the website. But right now, I want to let you know that if you have any questions, concerns, or suggestions on the GSG website, you can just contact me and we can work with that.
Hey everyone, I'm Nikita D'Souza, and I'm the Secretary of Philanthropy. So this is a new position this year, and basically it's probably going to serve in a way where the graduate student body can get involved in social activities and outreach activities. And what I mean by social activities is for social causes. So we're working with a lot of philanthropic organizations already on campus, or we have our own initiatives that we feel strongly about and that we want to promote in the graduate student body. And I would be that person. But I can't do this alone, so I definitely need a committee, and I encourage people to get in touch with me, find out more about what I'm doing, and there's plenty of space for because it's a new position and it's an open calendar, so there's plenty of space to put in your ideas and your issues also onto this. So there are sign-up sheets, and whoever's interested, and if you sign up your name, it doesn't mean that you're stuck with me, so sign up and talk to me maybe, and then we can figure out how this can work. But I really encourage people to at least figure out what it is, and hopefully there's a team at the end of the week or the month. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Vipul. I'm from the PhD program in Bioengineering Department, and I'm one of the co-secretaries for Research and Procurement. Before anything that I have to report, I would apologize to Madam Secretary for my jingle. I'm really sorry. Okay, but if you guys are familiar with the position that the research activities that GSG does, you must have seen that usually it was a one-person job, but we have come to recognize, having worked on committees before, that it was really too much for one person because of the amount of responsibilities that were involved, and more importantly, the fiscal responsibility that goes towards organizing these events. So the position was split this year, and I'm a co-secretary along with Maria Rogers, and we have a bunch of events planned for this year. Our major two events occur in the spring. One is the 3-minute thesis. It's an internationally recognized event that was started at the University of Queensland in Australia. It has caught on everywhere in the United States. We have successfully been organizing this for the last 3 years, and one of the best things or the glowing remark that we've got is other universities have tried to get in touch with us and see how we are trying to organize these events and what we're doing about it. The other is GRAD, which is the end of the year research symposium, where last year we had more than 100 graduate students present their posters and present their research. There were multiple sessions, and both these events have very widespread publicity in terms of what your research is, as well as monetary awards. Apart from this, usually the fall calendar was not very well utilized. So we've decided that we're going to bring in some small professional development sort of opportunities for graduate students. We're looking at partnering with the Mission and Career Center and maybe come up with a specifically tailored business etiquette kind of seminar session where graduate students can learn how to better interact with people from industry, other people in academics, or their peers. The other one is in terms of effective communication. I mean, we're very good at talking about what we do to people who actually understand our work, but there's always something lacking in terms of talking to a layman, going out and talking to the community. And that's something that we want to focus on. And we're going to bring maybe professionals, we haven't worked out the details, who can actually come and talk to us about this stuff. And apart from that, one of the most important thing is, like I mentioned, it's a huge responsibility in terms of organizing these events and a very big fiscal responsibility. We've always had a very strong committee, which is actually constituted by senators and outside graduate student members. So I really, really would want you guys to sign up for these positions. Blair's gonna send around a sign-up sheet so you can sign up on this. Again, like she said, it's not something that you're stuck with until we finalize the committee, but it's definitely something where we need the senators to be the first people to get on that committee, because you guys know what goes on behind the scenes more than someone who's just come on. And yeah, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, the only thing that I want to add is we welcome people from any program and every program to be in our committee. It makes it really helpful if we have people from different programs who have different ideas about how to do stuff. That way we can really accommodate everyone and not just like a certain sect of people.
Yeah, just piggybacking on that, one important thing was we identified and recognized a few positions that we think certain expertise from your fields might be necessary. So for example, there's like a position in the committee where we want someone to specifically handle the budget, which usually runs in excess of $15,000. So we want someone who's maybe a little well-versed in terms of how to handle that stuff. And the other one was we need someone who could be a little on the creative side and design, like the pamphlets and the program for the graduates that we give out that is sent to industry professionals. So we would like to give it a little professional touch, and your skills are definitely welcome in that. So, good. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Peter Mkumbo. I'm one of the two secretaries of International Student Affairs. As this year, the department has been split into two parts. Initially, it was just one department, which was like International Student Affairs. But this year, it has been split into two parts. So there's one secretary who is focusing on the issues of international student affairs, issues of international students here in main campus, but also another one who is focusing in Greenville. So I'm the one who will be focusing in issues, trying to address issues and concern of international students in Greenville. So we've been working together with Chandler and also the GSG Council in Greenville, trying to address the issues and also concerns and also the needs of international students in that campus. Yeah, that's all I have.
All right, I'll try to keep this short and sweet, but my name is Brian Heil. I'm the Secretary of Athletics. Ganeet kind of touched on the tailgate spot, so I'm not going to touch that. But I'd like to kind of talk just briefly a little bit about the new ticket policy that was unveiled this week. Kind of tell you a little bit about how we got there, and then really, I think, try to answer questions that you might have. I'll come up front then. Just briefly, I know it's been kind of a long evening thus far. But this ticket policy really started a couple years ago in the making, and it stemmed from a lot of graduate student complaints saying, how can we be expected to camp out? You know, we're graduate students, we're in labs, we're working late, we have work in the morning, we have jobs with families, yada, yada, yada. And complaining, comparing against other ACC programs and ticket policies, comparing against other top 65 ticket programs. And finally reached a boiling point last year. That's kind of the history of it. And so we got the athletic director to say, okay, let's do this, let's move on. And so we spent the better part of the spring and into the summer negotiating some of the different points and finer points of this policy. And so there are one of the biggest things, the biggest thing that we were going for as graduate students was we needed an electronic distribution method, right? And so because we can't go pick it up, we can't do that. It alienates, it's a barrier of access to a lot of things. So we got that. One of the other things we wanted to have is, you know, we're graduate students, we shouldn't be clumped in with seniors. And so we were able to negotiate a window of distribution to get football tickets ahead of any of the undergraduates, which was kind of a big deal. And the other thing we really wanted to have is, you know, we haven't had a huge history of a ton of graduate students attending football games. The most we ever had was like 830 something. And it was primarily due because we don't have access to it, and we were clumped in with seniors and a lot of things. And so we wanted to have our equal portion of tickets available to us. So more graduate students could attend football games if they so choose. And so we were able to negotiate a number that on paper is 1,600 graduate student tickets. With an agreement from the athletic department there, if there is a demand that exceeds the number of tickets available, they're going to find some more for us. And in the coming years, I think that number is going to go upwards to right around 2,000 to try to represent the 20% of the, get closer to that 20% of the graduate students are of the Clemson population in total. And in doing that, there were some concessions, right? And so looking nationally, block seating is going away. It's going away fast all over at major programs. Alabama limited theirs last year, and it's a trend going throughout. And so one of the things that we said was the undergrads were tentative to pull it this year because they didn't want to do it all at once. So they agreed to pull it next year. So there will be no more block seating next year at Clemson. And so in order to get a lot of those things we forfeited the right this year. But in doing so, we wanted to find a way to make sure we could all sit together with our friends. And so that's where we have the, general admission within sections. So if you are a grad student, you can select a section, you can all go in together, you can sit together, and you're going to have a lower deck seat. We have 1,200 lower deck seats, which that exceeds any demand we've ever had for football. And so that's good, and we find a way to everybody to sit together. That's even better. And then the biggest complaint, and one of the biggest things that we had to concede on so much was a guest ticket policy. Before, you were able to trade in a ticket, get a ticket, trade it in, and get a guest ticket. And when we had everybody together and we had these negotiations, one of the things I had to continually say is, graduate students are not a normal student population. If we can't have a guest ticket, oftentimes that would mean that we're not going to go to the game because our partner, spouses, guests, whoever, if we can't get a ticket for them, that would probably prevent a lot of us from going. And they said, we understand that. And one of their biggest chief points of contention was in saying, maybe we can work something out for the upper deck. And I kind of pushed back and they said, Ryan, the biggest thing I wouldn't be able to sell to my constituent group is if we have a non-Clemson student taking a premium seat away from a Clemson student. And so, that was something that, it makes sense and it's something that we don't want to have, but we were able to negotiate, and I'm not sure because this hasn't been widely dispersed yet. We were able to negotiate 100 guest season tickets available. So you can go in to purchase a discounted season ticket at the ticket office. So you won't have to wait week to week to see if there's a ticket available. You will have a ticket to the premium games, and you can bring a guest. Granted, it will be in the upper deck at this point, but that's something we're going to be looking to further negotiate, I think, in the coming years. And I will tell you, so how's it working? We've had 1 week in, and I'm going to say it was pretty rocky. Right? Technology is never as easy as it seems on paper, but in looking for many of the problems, the good news was, not a lot of the problems at our level were Clemson errors. They were mostly with the ticket company that the Clemson Athletics outsources their tickets to. And a lot of those things I think we got fixed during the process, although yet still not very fun. And I'm sure we'll try to keep working to fix it, although I don't know if you guys were with under. But to date, the good news is we look at the numbers, and like I said, the most grad students we've ever had at a game were like in the 830s. This week for Wofford, 981 grad students were able to get tickets. And so, like, although it's not perfect, although sometimes it was pretty brutal at times, we're starting to get access and more grad students are going, and that's great. And like I said, we're going to keep working, we'll keep pushing to meet our demands and to meet our needs. But I'd like to take any questions you might have as to why, how does this work? Go ahead.
For the guest tickets,
Yes, ma'am.
will both the guest ticket and our graduate student tickets be in the upper deck?
The guest tickets will be in the upper deck. Now, with the graduate, the way the grad tickets work, it's like StubHub or Ticketmaster. You can select where you want to sit. So if you want to sit, like obviously if you want to sit with your guest, you're gonna have to select an upper deck seat. I mean, not ideal yet. It beats the heck out of trying to have to buy. And so what you find is if you look around at the major football programs around the country, there are almost none that allow grad students to go for free. And or if you do, you're sitting way up in the nosebleeds, or you have access to maybe only half the season, or it's wonky. So maybe you could buy them as a normal student, as a normal thing.
Just want to say thank you very much for your hard work. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to going to the game.
So thank you. Hopefully everybody gets to enjoy it. It's fun.
So I had a question, comment. So as of yesterday, when trying to log into the system, there are 2 different login points, and if you went in the wrong way, it shot you back to your account information. But if you went in apparently the right way, then you could select your guest ticket. And it was me along with like several other people that were running the same issue. So I don't know if that was a kink that's been worked out yet.
That is one of the kinks we know about. Sometimes it'll send you in a loop, and so oftentimes it requires logging out and trying to log back in, and then sometimes you have to log out, shut down your browser, and then do it. I don't know why. I mean, this is not my sweet spot by any means, but there are some workarounds, but they are well aware of that. That issue is one they're really working on, and the other issue is mobile access.
Okay, that was the second question.
Yeah, mobile access. And so everybody that I spoke with had a really difficult time with mobile access. However, this new system allows like administrators to look in on the outside. And so as the link was shut down for the early part of the Sunday period, there were still people in there that were able working, and so that was confusing. So with mobile, it's like 50-50. Some of the people on mobile work and some of them don't, but we're really hoping we get that figured out.
I was wondering if instead of having an off the ticket, if you pull it up on your email on your phone and have them scan the barcode, so you can
Yeah, so I brought that up, and the straight answer is that this ticket office is not the most technologically savvy. But what I asked was, she said, we don't have the technology. I said, what if it's just a barcode? She said, well, if it's a barcode, it'll probably work. However, the people scanning the tickets will probably tell you that it doesn't work. I'm willing to say it's probably going to work. I would encourage you guys to play around with it, try it, turn off the ticket just in case. But I'm like you, I don't want to carry around another piece of paper. I'll lose hundreds.
What drop
Did you have a question?
Yes. What about insurance assessments?
Yes, okay, so, yes, the ticket office absolutely is aware of that, and so they deal with that kind of on an individual basis. So we had an issue with some of the veterans having the same thing with some accessibility issues. And so they can go in and code you and make sure that that's an option for you.
If you buy one of those guest season tickets, is it specific for one person?
No.
Like, could you take your husband one day or
You
one
can
game
take
and your
any
son
guest
next?
you want.
Okay.
Any guest you want.
Will we know after the game, like on Saturday, how many grad students actually went? Can we get that?
No, I would say, in theory, it would be nice. Their numbers aren't very, historically, they haven't been very active. I think that's the best way I say it, is although there have been games where it's pretty clear that it's sold out, yet the numbers would dictate that is not the case. So I think there's a piece in this plan that is not going into effect this year, and they're trying to figure out how to work it, is if you select a ticket and don't go, you're allowed essentially a miss, but after your second miss, your ticket privileges are revoked, so we don't have a bunch of people claiming tickets and not showing up. But the athletics ticket office was very hesitant to put that into place because they are not they don't really trust the reliability of those numbers yet. It's something they're really working on, so it's going to be put in.
Alright, so we won't have like even a sum of just grad students who scan it?
I can ask, we can try. I don't know, I really don't know how reliable those numbers will be. Like when you know how far off some of these numbers have been, you really.
You mentioned that the guest tickets, you can get the season tickets.
Yes.
Can you also do individual games?
No, well, okay, so you cannot buy the individual games ahead of time. So the way it works this week was every class, so it goes collegiate club, grad students, senior, all the way down to freshmen, have their distribution window. Any unused tickets will then be available for guest tickets. Okay, so this week, there were only 200 guest tickets available, which is crazy, which no one saw that kind of demand coming. Like, there isn't that kind of demand on the regular market, let alone. So it's great that there are more students are going. We have 11,000, almost 11,800 students got tickets this week, which is like a record for water. But only speaks to the fact that, like, come Notre Dame, Florida State, Georgia Tech, it's probably like they won't even offer those. They didn't offer those last year. The big games, they don't offer guest tickets. I'm sure those will be difficult to come by. And App State's already sold out, so I would imagine it'll be somewhat competitive. So the guest ticket, if you want to ensure a guest ticket, the guest season ticket is the way to go. And we secured a good number of those. We secured over 100 season guest tickets, and those were available last year, and they only sold 8 of them. So I'm sure there will be plenty.
Hey Ryan, didn't you say there would possibly be penalties if you register for tickets and you have to attend the game?
Right, that's what I was just speaking to. So there was that in the original plan. The undergrads agreed with, the undergrads all about it. The athletic ticket office was the one that kind of put the kibosh on that, put hold on that for this year, because they're not confident enough in their ticket scanning. So if a student says, I was there, and they were like, we don't have you scanned, to say, well.
Do you know the price of the guest season ticket?
I think it's a $260. 272. Okay. You got it. Thank you. 272. Does that help? All right, so we'll work on it and we'll get it better, but I think it's a good start, and hopefully this goes better. And I would encourage you guys to check out the GSG tailgating spot, especially this week. It's going to be fun. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. Are there any more questions?
Okay. Hi, I'm Summer Benton. I am the Secretary of Video Production, and I'm doing videos. So I'm going to be shooting meetings. Whenever we need a video to outreach or anything, I will probably be making it. So if you need anything video production-y, call me. That's it. Thanks.
Sorry, I'm not in the gallery. Now we try, but I'm still a cabinet officer and the Secretary of Sustainability. I am doing my PhD in environmental science, and like Ryan was saying, it's like you have 11,000 ticket holders for the walkout game, so I am expecting there will be equal number of waste generated during the thing as I was doing it. So one of my goals, my office goals, is to make sure that we clean up the waste and send it for recycling. So it's like last year we were the national recycling champions when we did delegating events, and Tennessee is close behind us. And they made a goal to make sure that we beat Clemson this time, but if we have the help of the graduate students and with the senators' help, we could still maintain that position as the leading champions of recycling and keeping the campus clean. So that's the primary goal of my office during game day events, and I have other events which I will tell all the society meetings.
Thank you. Any other cabinet members? All right. Next up are the committee reports. We'll start with the activities committee chair.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bhumit, and I'm a second year master's student in electrical department, and I'm going to be the activities chair for this year. I'm also one of the senators from my department. So basically what we do is we organize social activities for all grad students and their families. So we started off this year by having an ice cream social for the current grad students as well as the new students who this year. We had the welcome back party at SO. We had a really good turnout this year, and everybody seemed to like it. And it's like a casual way to meet everyone who's on campus, like your seniors and stuff. So this year, Green and Ryan both mentioned, we are having, for the very first time, GST is having a tailgate spot of their own. So it'll be really great for all grad students to come and hang out at the GST tent. We are going to have a lot of games, food and stuff. So I urge all you guys to please come and come to the GST tailgate spot, and hopefully we all have fun there watching the game. Other events that we do through the year, we usually do trivia nights and coffee socials throughout the year. These are monthly events that happen. But apart from these, some of the big events that we do are like the Halloween party and the year-end party for both spring and fall. That is something that we are going to continue doing and try to look at different locations to have that. One good thing that happened this year is we have a separate council in Greenville. So Greenville has their own activities committee, and we are going to be coordinating and having events both on Clemson and in Greenville campus as well. So you guys can attend Greenville events and get to know the people over there or the different programs that are there on Greenville campus as well. Also, we are going to work closely with the Secretary of Philanthropy. Certain activities are going to be done with the philanthropy committee, and we're going to have some events where we'll be having fundraising stuff and all. So we're planning. So this year, my goal is to collaborate with as many activities as I can, as many organizations on campus, and do a lot more collaborative work. So I urge you guys to keep looking out for the GHG website, the calendar of the events that we're having, and if anybody is interested to serve on my committee and do some fun stuff throughout the year, then please sign yourself up, and I will notify you guys of the meetings when we're going to have. So thank you.
Thank you, Amit. Next up, we have the finance committee chair, Robert.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I'm the finance committee chair from the econ department. So what we basically do is we work on the budget and any big reallocations of money, and anytime an organization needs money, they come to our committee and present their needs and ask for however much they need for the activity that they're trying to run. I do need 3 to 5 senators to join, or actually anyone to join the committee. And we have meetings once a month to allocate funds. If you're interested or know someone who is, email me at our board. I want to have that online as well.
Thank you. Next up is the organizations committee chair, Blythe.
Hi everyone, I'm Blythe. I'm a second year master's student in the Communication Technology Society program. And like Blair said, I am the chair for the organizations committee this year. Basically, we just oversee recognition of all the organizations, the graduate organizations in the community, things like that, and help facilitate that recognition and then de-recognize organizations that maybe don't want to exist anymore or are not meeting recognition requirements. So I am looking for committee members. I need one senator from each of the 5 colleges. I already have someone signed up for the Cockles and the CAAH college. So If anybody in the other new colleges would like to join, please sign the sign-up sheet just right after the meeting. One thing I do want to talk about really quickly is we have our re-recognition meeting coming up Tuesday night at 6 o'clock from 6 to 8 p.m. in Kynard Hall 101. So if you're part of an organization, a graduate student organization, or you're the primary officer or the financial officer, please let your organization know about that because it is a requirement to maintain recognition for the upcoming year through GSG. So your primary officer and your financial officer both have to attend. If one of them cannot, they are more than welcome to send someone else from your organization.
New business. The first item of business is GB 272, to revise the constitutional documents. The chair this time will recognize Aaron Carlin for our first document. You can stay there, that's fine.
Okay, so this is a bill to take the current bylaws and do a lot of editing, updating, making language correct, and then putting in stuff that we have currently at residence into writing, take away stuff that we don't do anymore. There's a lot of changes that need to be made. In addition to that, the bylaws currently have provisions for both the Senate body and the graduate student body. So instead of having those combined and convoluted, we're separating them out into two different documents now. We call the Senate rules and the graduate student body code. So this bill will be to approve those two documents and to repeal the current bylaws. I wanted to add also that a lot of you probably knew and didn't take a look at them yet because you don't really know what the current bylaws were and what the ones are going to say. I want to say that you can always amend them. So if you pass them now and agree with them, next time you can always propose to amend something. So it's not the end of the world if you say yes to this time and have something wrong with it.
Thank you. Is there any debate on the way to this committee? Are you ready for the question? Hearing no debate, we will proceed to a vote on the question. Please prepare your clickers. Wait for a moment for us to get the slide. Alright. Yeah. And please vote. All right, 95% in the affirmative, the bill is adopted. Moving on, we have GB 273, bill to enact a budget for fiscal year 2016. Chair this time will recognize Kelsey Roberts for first argument.
Okay, so this is the budget. It's pretty clear line by line what's being allocated for each thing. Hopefully you all looked it over. It's relatively on par with what we had for last year's budget. There are a few changes, and we have made a few new committees that needed money and whatnot. So those are added to this budget as well. If you want to scroll down the whole thing. If there are any questions, I can take those.
Any questions? Senator, sorry.
Blakey. I had a question about the endowment, $50,000 being allocated to create a new endowment.
We do have your amendment.
Okay,
whenever
great.
you want to make it.
It'd be great to get clarification though on why that was made, where those funds will be housed, how they'll be administered, what the anticipated returns are on those, and how those funds will be used in future years.
You want to talk about that? Okay. Great. So this actually it's in our budget, but it's actually already allocated. So the final bill that was passed in the last Senate back in spring was GB 271, which allocated about $97,000, which we had basically in a surplus to various things. So the biggest item on that bill was the endowment. We also allocated $30,000 to capital improvements. We allocated $7,000 to GSG Greenville for startup costs, and a few other miscellaneous things. So actually, this budget doesn't actually allocate those funds. It's just included in the budget as a kind of affirmation that bill was already passed. However, we can adopt an amendment to repeal that if the Senate so wishes. Senator Sharp.
To answer the question on where these funds are installed, I believe last year we discussed that Clemson University has its own trust fund, and the GSE is piggybacking its 50,000 into that. So it kind of belongs to Clemson. We just have a small amount inside it. So it's not some random account where we're putting $50,000 and letting it go.
Senator Reed, would you like to move your amendment, or?
Yes, I would like to move to amend line 60 and strike the $50,000 creation of an endowment. The reason is, just want to make sure every senator understands what an endowment is. That's money that's put into some sort of investment. The principal, the $50,000, is not touched. The interest would be used each year. So on a $50,000 endowment, would probably give us, I'm assuming, somewhere around $2,000, give or take, each year to spend. So this $50,000 represents almost 25% of the entire budget for this year. It's a significant amount of money. It's only going to generate $2,000 a year. My concern there, several concerns. One, primarily, is that that money comes from graduate student activity fees. God willing, not many of us will be left 5-10 years from now when this really starts to bear fruit, so I don't think it's meeting the needs of our constituents today. And furthermore, I think there are plenty of areas where our constituents could use additional funds, primarily in the PEG fund. We heard about that today. Several of the students in my program have benefited from that. Many others have not been able to access those funds because of limited funding. So my amendment is to strike $50,000 for the endowment and to reallocate those $50,000 towards the PEG fund in the 2016 budget. President Bennett.
All right, so this $50,000 endowment was established, and we have a position that would look towards developing it. So right now, we just can't focus on today. We have to ensure that we have continued resources for our future graduate students. And the funds accrued through this endowment can be used to create more value-added programs, including alumni networking events, large-scale conferences, programs to build relationships with industry that can really grow our graduate school. And I agree with the senator that it's $50,000 and we'll be getting $1,000 for this year. But our main goal is to increase this endowment. So we are going and approaching alumni all around wherever they are, and we will be organizing alumni events, and we'll be increasing the networking with our alumni, and tell them the importance of this endowment so that we can have donations from those alumni, and which will help increase the endowment. And once this endowment is increased, we have increased rate of return each year, which we can use towards all the value-added programs that I just talked about.
Thank you. The chair would also like to add that it's unclear whether striking the $50,000 endowment from the budget would actually unallocate what was previously allocated, and adopting a $50,000 for PEG fund may actually enact an additional $50,000 on top of the endowment. The recommendation of the chair would be to adopt an entirely new bill to repeal the $50,000 if that is in fact the desire of the Senate. Having said that, is there a second to the motion to adopt this amendment? Hearing none? Second. All right. Second is heard. It's moved and seconded to adopt the motion to amend GB 273. This time we'll vote on the amendment by voice. All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. There's a.
I wanted to request postpone. I'm sorry.
Postpone the amendment.
Yeah, we'll be able to move into the
The motion to amend cannot be postponed.
Because I guess my question would be how much is normally allowed us to pay?
Kelsey.
I can answer that, but I'm not, when we originally allocated this, there was a discussion in the finance committee as to whether we could give it to PEGs. And from my understanding, I don't think
information in the new bylaws that we just adopted. I did not see anything that would prohibit graduate student government from contributing funds towards things. So that might have been the case prior, but I do not see that it would be the case today.
That is the understanding of the chair as well.
Motion for amendment.
Senator Sharma.
If an amendment cannot be postponed, what are the options that we have?
Vote it down or vote it up. It can, I believe if you would like to raise a parliamentary inquiry, we can take a short break and look it up for you. Okay. Is there any other debate on the motion to amend? All right. This time we'll. Is there any more debate? Hearing none.
I would like to.
Senator Linden?
Yes. I just want to clarify that the endowment gives $2,000 to $2,500 in perpetuity, right, forever. And so we're talking about $50,000 being allocated now versus $2,000 potentially growing over time for future graduate students. Right?
All right. Is there any more debate on the amendment?
I would just like to respond to that. Again, the 2,000 is in perpetuity, assuming the investments hold, which is certainly not any guarantee. But again, looking at my constituents, I think additional funding for the PEGs would be a much more clear-cut and beneficial towards my constituents than $2,000 a year in perpetuity. I mean, it would take 25 years to realize the same benefit that we could see today with an increased investment into the PEG funds, which is why I'm putting forth this amendment.
Senator Sharma.
I'd like to point out two things. One is that we've had a heated discussion last year on what to do with those $50,000, and after about half an hour of discussion, we agreed that we should put it in the trust fund. And the other thing is that I think we understand that there might be unforeseen expenses later on, and it would be nice to have some kind of funding for that rather than spend all of it for Pegasus in this 1 year. You're making sure that your future is secure rather than just spending all your money in this 1 year.
All right. Is there any more debate? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. A vote by voice. All those in favor of adopting the amendment to strike $50,000 for an endowment and insert $50,000 for PEGA funds, please indicate your approval by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no.
No.
The noes have it. The amendment is not adopted. We'll now resume debate on GB 273.
I have a request for information. I noticed in the budget that we're allowing a certain amount of funds to, visit like the vice president and the president, about $1,500. What does that money usually go to?
Anything at all under the vice president or president's discretion, and this is a line item that's been included in past budgets as well. Obviously, every disbursement that comes from those funds will be included in the treasurer's report, and it also has to be approved by the CJSG advisor and comply with state guidelines that benefit government.
Do you have any examples on it of things it's been used in the past for?
Yes, typically these will be used to buy things like gifts for senators, gifts for cabinet members, maybe some office supplies, basically anything that at all, really. So if we're out of money in another line item, we can use discretionary funds to pay for something else. Sorry. Expended that line. Yes.
Couldn't we use part of that fire here?
Yes, right. Now, that could also come out of Senate discretionary, but it gives the executive branch basically leeway to buy things for the graduate student government, and it's been done for at least the past 3 or 4 fiscal years. Sharma.
Can you explain how the budget can be changed? And you said we have to go through the finance committee to.
Yes, so if anyone wants to allocate, any senator wants to allocate funds, can do so by introducing an item of legislation which, if it does appropriate funds or revoke appropriation of funds, it will be referred to the finance committee, which must receive the finance committee's approval before being taken up in the Senate. But funds may be unallocated and reallocated at any time by majority vote of the Senate. Obviously, funds that already have been spent can't be unspent, but barring that, funds can be reallocated. Any other debate? Hearing none, we will proceed to a vote. All right, please get your clickers ready and wait 1 moment. And please vote. There being 84% in the affirmative, the bill is adopted. All right, proceeding on to GR 54, a resolution to approve executive appointments. These are all of the individuals that you have heard from in the reports, just confirming their appointments as per our Constitution. Senator Steele.
I move to amend GR 54 to include the new president person for in earnest.
So Jonathan has joined our team within the past week after the bills were sent out. So the motion is to amend the resolution. Is there a second? The second is heard. It is so moved and seconded. Is there any objection to the adoption of the amendment? Hearing none, the amendment is adopted. And being written. Is there any debate on the resolution? Hearing none, we will proceed to a vote. Please get your clickers ready. And please vote. There being a majority in the affirmative, the resolution is adopted. Moving on, GR 55, a resolution to create a special committee for constitutional revision. Question is the adoption of GR 55, excuse me. Is there any debate on this resolution? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Please get your clickers ready, and please vote. There being a majority of the affirmative, the resolution is adopted. And that concludes our new business. Thank you, everyone. Now we will have a period of open speech. At this time, any attendee may speak on any matter of the general nature. Senator Sharma.
Hi, I'm the guy who brings you all the food at the Starbucks. So, I noticed the bottles disappear really quickly. I'll try getting on next time. My request is that since Samit mentioned sustainability, there's some recycling boxes to the right. If you have anything that can be recycled, just throw it in there. I'll try to get some kind of request system to ask you what you want to drink or eat. Probably won't work because all I have for you is Oreos, but we're going to try to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sharma. Any more open speech? President Becky.
Just one last comment that make sure you tell your constituents to access our website and follow us on Facebook and Twitter because we post a bunch of updates and we're very active on our social media. Follow our website.
Thank you. I also have something to add. We do have a sign-up sheet for the philanthropy committee floating around. Who has that currently? Does anyone have that sign-up sheet? Did we lose it? Oh, we found it. Excellent. All right, great. Is there any more